Hello and welcome to another episode of Earth911's Sustainability in Your Ear, the podcast conversation about accelerating the transition to a sustainable carbon neutral society. I'm your host, Mitch Ratcliffe, and thank you so much, folks, for joining us in this conversation today. It's an important one. Hey, welcome to the hottest part of summer. The heat and smoke season may have you looking at your yard and thinking it's time to upgrade from gas lawn equipment to electric. Gas mowers, edgers, trimmers, and blowers are noisy, and their two-stroke engines pollute 20 to 300 times more than a car per hour of operation, according to the National Resources Defense Council. Now, I bought my first electric mower, a Greenworks model, in 2016, and it still works great. The batteries still provide plenty of runtime 7 years later. Our friends at Consumer Reports recently endorsed electric lawn equipment, especially for smaller lawns, for the first time. And we're joined today by Toby Stanger, a senior editor at Consumer Reports who has covered appliances, generators, lawnmowers, and much more for more than 30 years. We'll find out why Consumer Reports still concludes that gas yard equipment has the advantage in some cases, and explore the key features and functionality to look for when choosing electric alternatives to polluting gas yard equipment. You can learn more at consumerreports.org. Consumer Reports is all one word, no space, no dash, consumerreports.org. And of course, we're going to include links to several of their articles in the podcast description. Now let's get into the conversation. Welcome to the show, Toby. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you?
Doing great. It's so far not a very smoky summer here in the Seattle area. I know New York region, you've had quite the experience.
We have. We've gotten used to what other people in the country have been dealing with for a while.
Well, welcome to smoke season. Let's talk about one of the things that contributes to some of that heating and warming that we're talking about, and that is gas-powered lawn equipment. Do you have a sense today of how many gas-powered lawn and garden tools are still in use and how much pollution that they're producing in the United States each year?
I really can't say. There's been some data out, including data that we've reported on, that I'm learning recently is in question. But okay, it's fair to say that gas-powered lawn tools, any sort of gas-powered engine, does contribute to pollution. And it also can contribute to health problems. They're noisy. They can contribute to hearing loss and other health issues. The oil that spills from these goes into the ground sometimes, leaches into the soil, and they're just kind of a mess.
Well, the last numbers I saw were that there were about 16 million sold, but that was 2015, and overall it looks like there's about 140 million lawn equipment devices in the United States. Do you get the sense that we're approaching the 50% mark in terms of electric adoption?
I don't know, but I will say that some things, such as California's rule that certain lawn equipment has to be, any new lawn equipment purchased, I think in 2024, that's or put on the shelves new, right, has to be electric. So if you see a gas-powered machinery on the shelves, you can buy it, but going forward, anything new is going to have to be electric powered. And I think that's going to make a big difference in California, which is a major state, of course, and will then flow out to the rest of the country. And what we see is that people have smaller lawns than they used to. New homes. My daughter and son-in-law to be just bought a home in Ohio, and it's a very small lawn. They don't need these big gas-powered tools, and a battery-powered mower, for example, works perfectly in their setup.
Now, let's talk a little about the two-stroke engine as the base problem, the thing we're trying to move away. I read in one of your articles that running a commercial gas-powered leaf blower, so just the leaf blower for an hour, produces as much pollution as driving a 2017 Toyota Camry 1,100 miles. Tell us, why is a two-stroke engine so much more polluting?
Well, it's just any sort of engine, because it is running on gasoline, is going to be more polluting than an electric machine. It really is just, it's not the fact that it's two-stroke or four-stroke or whatever. It's that it's powered by gasoline.
And yet it does seem to be much more polluting, 200 or 20 to 300 times more polluting. Is it because the fuel doesn't burn as completely? Is there any underlying reason that you're aware of that these things perform so badly?
I checked with our tech people on that, the people who test these, and they really couldn't give me a definitive answer. But just to say that, they're just, it may be. I'm just guessing that maybe they are less efficient in doing what they do. But that's just a guess from me.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, why not go electric if you can and just sidestep all of that issue?
Consumer Reports lawn equipment recommendations are, in general, swinging from gas to electric, but there are a lot of circumstances in which you still say gas options get higher ratings. So I want to go through some of the factors that you used when judging what's best for consumers' needs. Let's start. You mentioned yard size. Is there a size yard at which it becomes right to go gas?
Well, certainly with a lawn tractor, if you've got a lawn of a couple of acres, at this point in time, battery-powered lawn tractors, there aren't that many of them. We cannot, at Consumer Reports, talk even about reliability with that category yet, because as we could with gas lawn tractors, because there just aren't that many of them out there for us to judge that.
So not a large enough sample.
We don't have a large enough sample, and I should back out and say that the way that we test reliability at Consumer Reports is we actually ask our members. We have tens of thousands of members who respond to our surveys, and they tell us which is the most reliable machine and the most reliable brand. And we have much more data, especially on gasoline tractors than we have on battery mowers. So we're battery tractors. So we can't really give definitive information on reliability when it comes to battery tractors, lawn tractors, big machines.
So how about the push mower category?
So with the push mowers, we are finding great owner satisfaction and very good predicted reliability for battery push mowers with a lot of brands. And we are finding, and that's for self-propelled and push. So self-propelled is where you got a little bit of a kick from the engine that helps you get up hills and so forth. Push is the more basic mower. For both of those, we're seeing brands that offer very good predicted reliability and excellent owner satisfaction. But, with gas mowers, there's one brand in particular, Honda, that, just blows everybody else away with both owner satisfaction and predicted reliability. And so far, we haven't seen that many brands that can match that in the electric category. But that said, the best battery-powered push mowers really are pretty much on par with the best gas push mowers in terms of their performance.
Now, another category that you look at is cutting performance.
Right.
What exactly does that mean? And how if I'm in my backyard pushing one mower or the other, would I judge that?
Well, it's how well, is it giving you an even cut? That's the main thing we look at. And that's basically what it is. It's an even cut.
When you look at an owner satisfaction, do you ask the question, are they concerned about their environmental impact? Do you have a sense of how that breaks out? Are there gas owners who are satisfied with it, but still concerned about the environmental impact?
I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that. You're asking if we ask that in our surveys?
Yeah. And by the way, I am a subscriber, so I answer the surveys, but I don't recall ever being asked about my environmental concerns. Primarily, it's about performance and price and reliability.
I don't know if our surveys specifically about lawnmowers include that information, but Consumer Reports has, of course, done more general surveys among our members and the American public to find out how they feel about environmental issues as it relates to their products. And people are interested in more environmentally friendly products. The point is when, at what point are they willing to pay more?
Right.
Because battery powered machinery can cost more, at least up front. So we haven't really looked at where that, where our consumers find that dividing line.
Well, you mentioned up front, and that brings us to another category, which is handling and ease of use. Electrics require much less maintenance. Do you find that's the case?
Yeah, that is totally true. I mean, just think about with a gas lawnmower at the end of the season, you've got to drain it of the oil and of the gasoline, or you've got to put a stabilizer in. You've got to change spark plugs at the beginning of the season. There's just a lot more. It's messy. You've got to turn it on its side, blah, blah, blah. It's a mess. With a battery powered mower, you take the battery out, you make sure you're storing it in a temperature, in an area doesn't have extreme temps. And that's it. I mean, the thing they have in common is you should sharpen the blade at the beginning of the season and probably somewhere halfway through the season as well. But battery mowers are just so much easier to deal with. And think about something like a leaf blower or a string trimmer, a gas powered leaf blower. You're carrying around all that extra liquid. It's heavy. You don't have that with batteries. It's just much easier to deal with. So in many ways, it's just convenience wise, there's no, there's really no contest.
So another issue that has been raised over the years with electrics is battery life. Is that one of the primary limitations that prevents people, your readers, from judging them to be more efficient or more convenient than gas?
I don't know if our readers believe that runtime makes it more convenient. I know that we judge runtime, and we have found runtimes to be getting better all the time. And it does figure into our overall score of the products that we test. And for a consumer, our general view is that, especially if you have a smaller lawn, you can definitely get away with most of the push mowers and self-propelled mowers, the higher rated ones that we have, because we have runtimes that, can exceed an hour, which is plenty of time for at least a quarter of an acre or more.
Certainly for my yard, which is about a quarter acre. That's about how much time I need.
Yeah, we're seeing run times that go as long as 2 hours. They can, there are some units that are approaching the point that they can cut an acre or more, on one charge, and that's fantastic.
And then the other issue is, how fast should these batteries recharge in order for people to feel that is truly convenient?
So we look at that too. The charge time is important. You don't want to be waiting hours and hours if you haven't finished cutting your lawn, or if you want to do it right away and have forgotten to put the battery back in the charger. You don't want to wait hours and hours and hours for a battery to recharge. So certainly we, from what I've seen, batteries that charge in less than an hour, that's sort of a good cutoff. If you can find a battery that charges in less than an hour, that's good, and that's what you should be looking for. And we have a lot of those in Consumer Reports ratings, and it's reflected. We don't specifically say in most cases what the charge time is, because there are some variations, but we do rate the charge times. And like I said, we have many that have very good charge times or excellent charge times.
This is great. I feel like we're getting a good foundation for the rest of the discussion, but let's take a quick commercial break. We're going to be right back. Hey, extended producer responsibility change makers, let's unite. Meet me and the Earth911 team in Portland, Oregon this September at the 2023 U.S. Product Stewardship Forum, the nation's only conference dedicated to EPR legislation and best practices. The circular economy is being crafted today, brick by brick, with EPR legislation, and packaging recycling efforts are leading the way. 2022 saw unprecedented momentum, with 18 states considering over 60 EPR bills, and 6 became law. This year in Portland, you'll find exclusive insights from globally recognized EPR experts. The Product Stewardship Institute invites you, the movers who will shake their regional recycling and composting systems with new ideas. Network. Hone your EPR knowledge and form strategic alliances to drive the circular results this world needs. Now is the time for producer responsibility. So join us at the 2023 U.S. Product Stewardship Forum in Portland, Oregon. That happens from September 11th to 14th. Register today at productstewardship.us. Product stewardship is all one word, no space, no dash. Productstewardship.us. Be a part of the solution, because stewardship starts with you. Now let's return to the conversation with Consumer Reports senior editor Toby Stanger. We're talking about gas versus electric lawn equipment. Toby, my experience with electric yard tools, and I have an electric mower, trimmer, chainsaw, and blower, has convinced me that interchangeable batteries is really the key to a truly convenient experience. Are you seeing a move by various equipment brands to standardize the voltage and sizes of their batteries so that they can be switched between their own devices?
Yeah, I've seen it among some brands. With some brands, you're still seeing larger batteries, say for mowers, and smaller batteries for string trimmers and leaf blowers and those kinds of things. But then there are others that are what they're doing is they're using several small batteries. So you'll have several small battery slots in a large piece of equipment like a snow blower or a lawnmower, and then you might use one of those or two of those in a smaller machine.
Is there an example? I wasn't aware of the multi-battery devices. Which brands are doing that?
I cannot think offhand, but I know I've spoken with makers who say that that's what they're doing.
So, in terms of battery purchases, have you looked at batteries as a category unto themselves and done any ratings in terms of thinking about which are either more reliable or more sustainable?
Consumer Reports testers have thought about it. Mm-hmm. We're looking at it. Apparently it's a very complicated thing to test. Mm-hmm. And we continually review this to try to figure out a way to do this, because we know that it's of interest to consumers. At this point, no, we have not rated batteries. We have not done that.
Let me urge you, based on the questions we get from consumers, to also consider recyclability when you do that.
Sure. Good point. Very good point.
The problem with a lot of these things is that there's no clear disposal or end-of-life solution. And it would be great to see that factored into the ratings, because, again, Consumer Reports, I get about 20 magazines a month, but Consumer Reports is the one I read front to back, and I just would love to see more of that in the magazine. Another kind of bigger, broader issue is: are you starting to look at the full life cycle impact of gas versus electric mowers? Including the embodied carbon from manufacturing it, the lifetime fossil fuel emissions, and those end of life options we were talking about.
Yes, we are starting to do that. We are not at the point where we have looked at the entire life cycle, but just recently Consumer Reports introduced something called Green Choice in the lawnmower category. We also have it in cars and in a couple of other categories. And we look at several factors, including how efficient the batteries are based on the operations of the mowers. We look at how many batteries are used, because the manufacture of batteries itself is an energy intensive activity. Right. So a mower that needs just a single battery to do its work might be more eco-friendly. And we look at the cut and charge time, because if there's less electricity used to cut and to charge up the battery, to cut with the mower and to charge up the battery, that's better for the environment. We also look at mower design. Wider decks can cut more of a lawn. If you've got a wider deck, a 42-inch deck versus a 30-inch deck, then you have to go, it takes fewer passes to get to get
Sure.
across your lawn. So that makes them, you're going to use less energy in total. And, little things, the washout ports, if you have those in a machine, that enables owners to hose out stuck clippings, and that extends the operation and maintenance. And longer warranties mean that the owners are more likely to get their mowers repaired rather than scrapping them for something new.
It'd be great to see manufacturers integrate a recycling program so that they're taking back their batteries. That closed loop approach would also lower their costs, but we'll see if they ever recognize that. Now, we talk about the emissions-free electric equipment, but one of the things that we have to take into account is where the energy that powers the battery came from in the first place. Does Consumer Reports look at or consider the carbon impact of different energy sources when assessing a gas versus electric? If I'm in the East Coast, that's going to be oil or coal generated power. There's a lot of emissions behind the battery that I need to take into account.
We are not there yet. This is something that is on the drawing board at Consumer Reports, because that obviously is part of the life cycle. And we are looking also at other energy options. I'm starting to look at solar panels, and we're writing about heat pumps and so forth. So, when homeowners have these in their homes, that can be a better option than the fossil fuels to power items in their home. Of course, there's trade-offs with everything, because as you mentioned, there's the, what do you do when the solar panel after 20 years isn't working so well, and so forth. So it's a big deal to think of the whole life cycle, but we're trying. At Consumer Reports, we keep trying, because we really have made energy efficiency and sustainability a major theme in how we look at our products and the products that we test.
As you say that, I have to reflect on the fact that we are actually at this massive transition, energy transition, the design and development of products for recyclability and sustainability. It must be such a challenge to have all these new issues floating up from every direction as you try to plan your editorial over the course of the next year or two.
It's great. I mean, we're all psyched. We're
Good.
Very jazzed about the idea of looking into these things, because we know consumers care. We care. And the job is to, make sure that you get a good value, but that you're also, not contributing to global warming and in everything that a consumer does. So we want to be there where the consumer is.
So what should the consumer be looking for when shopping for an electric? What are the key things you would ask a dealer?
Yeah, so I think that first of all, look at Consumer Reports ratings, and then when you're going sort of drilling down to the brands, I think it's very important to look at the reliability, because as we talked about, if you have a reliable product, it's going to last longer. And that's key if you're concerned about sustainability. I think the warranty is very, very important. Some of these mowers, what's interesting about battery mowers is that you'll have a different warranty for the battery than you will have for the unit. And of course, a combination of long warranties for both is great. So I think it's very important to look at the warranty. And again, if you've looked at the performance ratings that we have at Consumer Reports and then ask those questions, I think you're likely to get a good product.
Are you seeing any emerging technologies or new design formats that will transform this decision between gas versus electric lawn equipment?
The main thing that I'm seeing in talking with, I've talked with a number of battery manufacturers, they're looking at different, alternatives to lithium ion batteries. And there are trade-offs, some of them are much more, they offer much more power, but they take a really long time to charge up, that kind of thing. But I think we will see an evolution of batteries and battery choices down the road. And I'm sure you have covered this, that battery storage and all the issues around batteries really is sort of at the crux of this revolution.
It'll be interesting, too, to look at as we evolve the battery manufacturing process and how we source those materials, what the environmental impact upstream from the consumer is beforehand. And I'm really looking forward to your team starting to tackle that, because I think we have a different focus. And so I look to Consumer Reports for that next step. And I'm so pleased that you're thinking about it. Can you share maybe the 3 or 4 electric equipment brands or models that you think stand out this year?
Yeah, so I looked through three different categories of lawn equipment: leaf blowers, string trimmers, and mowers. And there's some really good, I'm looking at them from a reliability standpoint.
Okay.
And Ryobi is one that comes through that's sold at Home Depot. And we find that with leaf blowers and walk behind mowers, that's a very good brand. Also, Cobalt, which is the Lowe's brand, the Lowe's house brand, mowers and string trimmers, they do very well. Another name that you may hear in mowers is Greenworks, the self-propelled mowers that they offer a very good. Ego, of course, is another one that you may see a lot. The mowers and string trimmers are very good, very good. We have done very well in our ratings. Stihl, which is Stihl, has some top-notch mowers, leaf blowers. Husqvarna has some very good leaf blowers, and Makita with string trimmers. So it's all over the place, but there's a lot of brands. And even John Deere, which is the monster, big elephant in the room, is looking at electric lawn tractors. So, for years that has been the top rated gas powered lawn tractor, both for owner satisfaction and reliability. And they are looking into this too. They just introduced a very expensive battery powered lawn tractor. And, down the road, we may rate it. It's very expensive. And, not sure if we're going to be doing in the next season, but it's coming. Honda, they're all, well, actually Honda, I have heard, is actually getting out of the lawnmower business, which is interesting. But you
After
will
their
see.
Dominance, that's really odd. After so much dominance,
I know. That's the rumor. Anyway, I think you will see the names that are big in gas equipment moving more and more into electric. They realize there is a space for it. And honestly, the thing about at this point in time, they can charge more for a battery mower. There is a premium.
What is the green premium on average, do you think, these days? Or what should a consumer expect to pay above the gas price?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It really depends on the model. It might be $100 more, but it may be less than that for, say, a walk-behind mower. We have an interesting interactive at Consumer Reports, which sort of touches upon this, where we've looked at battery-powered battery-powered and gas-powered push mowers to see where the break-even is. So where your investment really starts to pay off, and consumers can. And we looked at several price points, and you can see where, if you were to buy, a moderately priced electric, where it would. At what point would it cost you? At what point in the life cycle would using it end up costing you less than a gas-powered push mower? So that's an interesting calculation. In the beginning, they cost more, and at some point in time, you're going to have to replace that battery. But all the various mechanical things that you have to do and oil changes and so forth that you have to do to your gas mower can actually make the battery mower, the comparable battery mower, less costly in, just a couple of years of ownership.
Just a couple of years, so like 18 to 24 months, and you're in the black.
It all really, what you do in this interactive is you can plug in how long it typically takes you to mow your lawn and the gasoline cost that you're currently paying. And then you can look at the least expensive average cost and highest cost push mower or self-propelled mower and compare gas and electric. And for example, if you are paying $3.40 a gallon for gasoline and it takes you 30 minutes to mow your lawn with an average cost push mower, average cost gas and electric push mower, your break-even point for electric is about 2.5 years.
Not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal. And it's an even better deal if you find one with a very long warranty.
Well, then I think that's the thing that we need to start looking for is a long warranty and a payback within a couple of years. And that's some pretty solid criteria for making a next decision. You know, as I've been saying, reading you for years. Tell our audience how to subscribe and a little about Consumer Reports' nonprofit independent reviewing commitments.
Sure. Well, Consumer Reports has been around since the 1930s. We are not for profit. We get most of our revenue from member subscriptions. We do not take advertising. We are independent. The products that we buy, we do not get them directly from the manufacturer. We buy them out in the market just like consumers do. And what we do that a lot of product judging websites cannot do is we submit products to very scientific testing under all sorts of conditions that try to replicate what consumers are experiencing. We have a focus on safety. We are also very much in the sustainability space, as mentioned, and we rate hundreds of products and also services such as homeowners insurance, for example. You can go to consumerreports.org to look into membership, which you can still get the paper magazine, which is really fun to read. We also have a web subscription, or you can get both. And we are very dependent on our members' opinions on the products that they use. We have these very, very big surveys of tens of thousands of members that look at all the different aspects of owning a product to give us information on how satisfied they are with these products, with these brands, and how reliable the products have been. So we are trying to take a holistic approach to ownership among consumers, and that includes sustainability.
Well, Consumer Reports provides a vital and important service, and I kind of envy the fact that you are going to dive into all that deeper sustainability consideration over the next few years. Best of luck, and thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Toby Stanger, Senior Editor at Consumer Reports, about the evolving criteria for making a smart electric yard equipment purchase. And you can find Consumer Reports ratings and membership information at consumerreports.org. Consumer Reports, all one word, no space, no dash, consumerreports.org. You know, as a longtime editor, I really do envy Toby and the team at Consumer Reports, who have the opportunity to integrate so much more information and environmental impact criteria into their buying guides as the electrification transition continues. It will be fascinating to see how they integrate environmental concerns into Consumer Reports surveys. That means there will be a lot of educating to do so that consumers can apply new criteria to their product choices when responding to the surveys. And we're not just talking about a switch from gas to electric in lawn equipment, but also the emergence of new battery choices, of renewable energy sources available to homeowners who want to power those battery devices, and the greening of every aspect of home and life. Consumer Reports has an incredible opportunity to be a positive contributor to that discussion. If you haven't taken the electric yard equipment plunge, let me tell you from the front lines that it makes a big difference to me and my neighbors. And it's not just the environmental impacts. I can mow my lawn without coming away from the task partially deaf from the noise of a gas engine. And my neighbors can sleep when I mow on an early Saturday morning because my Greenworks mower is pretty much silent compared to the gas engine. Yes, I still choose to have a grass lawn, though there's an ongoing debate with my spouse that's tipping towards changing over to a clover, moss, or native yard with no lawn. So maybe I won't need this equipment in the future. As Toby mentioned several times, there are trade-offs involved in every aspect of this transition, and my situation is no different than yours. We can each make our own choices that contribute to progress toward lowering society's environmental impact. So check out the electric yard equipment brands she mentioned, including Ryobi, Cobalt, Steel, Greenworks, Husqvarna, and Ego when you shop for lawn equipment. It's time to put gas on the shelf of history, and hopefully riding mowers will follow the rest of push mowers, trimmers, blowers, and edgers to the electric promised land soon. Would you take a moment to share this podcast or any of the more than 400 interviews we've done on sustainability in your ear with your friends, your family, your coworkers? If you take a moment to write a review on your favorite podcast platform, that'll help your neighbors find us. Folks, you're the amplifiers that help us spread more ideas so there will be less waste. Tell everyone you know. They can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, or any of the other fine purveyors of podcast goodness that your friends, family, and coworkers prefer. Thanks, folks, for your support. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe. This is Earth 911, and we will be back with another innovator interview soon. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of one another, and let's all take care of this beautiful planet of ours. Have a green day.